Good evening. I want to welcome you to this community forum. This is a great opportunity to be able to spend a few minutes sharing with all of you patrons an update regarding our Proposition RS. I'm sure many of you have heard that. We appreciate you chiming in. This Facebook Live is our first time doing a Facebook Live coupled with Zoom. So we are hopeful that this will all go smoothly. We do have here, I have two people here with me. I have Dr. Kite, Travis Kite, and Dr. Angie McGuirk here. They are acting as moderators. We encourage you to ask questions. We want to be as transparent as possible during this entire process. They will be responding to some of the questions, and then I will do my best to answer questions as well, questions that will need maybe a little bit more conversation. We'll probably hit most of those questions at the end of the presentation, but feel free to go ahead and start asking questions as we go through the slides here. So let me get here to share my screen. 1 second. Okay. All right, Vision 2025. There's a lot of things here that we're excited to be able to share with you. And when I think back 2 years ago, prior to my arrival here at Reed Spring School District, and the excitement that Amy and our 6 children had to come down to the lake area, we really were thinking about kind of where the state of the district was at that time. And obviously a few things immediately stuck out for us. We have Table Rock Lake, this world-class lake in our backyard. What an amazing experience it has been for us to be able to enjoy the lake, and a great benefit to our community. We also have a world-class amusement park in our school district that we all are able to take advantage of. And of course, people from all over the country are able to come and join and enjoy our area. So as I transitioned and began having conversations with our administrator team and our teaching staff, we began talking about, we live in this just amazing community, this amazing area. Is our school district aligned with the world-class standard that our community has? And we think we've done a lot of really wonderful things over the years, but we felt like there was an opportunity to really extend more and really do more and provide for more for our children. So as we go through this conversation, speaking of children, I want to really keep this conversation and the focal point. Obviously tonight I'm here to share with you why we are coming to the community to ask for a levy increase. But we cannot have this conversation without thinking about children. So I have 3 pictures here. I'm kind of a little biased of the little guy there, little Carter. He's our little 4-year-old. So he'll be turning 4 in a couple weeks. So Carter, hi, if you're watching at home. And then in the middle, you may know Shelby Padilla. Shelby, of course, her mom's Carrie Padilla, who works on staff with us and is everywhere in the community doing so many different things. And she kind of represents a student that's kind of in that, late intermediate school, getting ready to go to middle school age experience. And then we have Cassidy Quick. Cassidy Quick is a senior here at Reed Spring. I believe she's a 13-year graduate. She's gone through Reed Spring her entire career, education here. And so as we have this conversation, I want you to think about these children and think about children like them. Think about your children. Think about your grandchildren. Even if your grandchildren may not live in this area, think about the power and influence that teaching has on the lives of our children. When I think about that, I think about this man. This man is Mr. Lee. He is, oftentimes I have a hard time even speaking about Mr. Lee without getting a little bit of emotional. He is one of the number one influences in my life. He came in my life in high school when I desperately needed someone to really provide me focus and direction and to inspire me. And so just had a tremendous influence. This is obviously much later than high school in this picture. This is several years ago. We had a pretty tragic death of a brother-in-law in the family, and Mr. Lee came to check in on the family and check in on me. So when you think about our plan and you think about the children in our community and you think about the lives that are touched, you can't help but think about who's working with our kids. Amy and I have 6 kids that live in this community. We're 100% vested, both as, me as a superintendent, obviously as my career and passion, but also as a father and, of course, a mother of 6 kids that will graduate through the Reed Spring School District. So when we started pulling together our administrative team, we started looking at how do we create a plan that and a vision and a focus for our district that isn't dependent on a leader. That, I was really cautious coming in, that I didn't want to create a plan that that people thought, this is just a new superintendent coming in with his own ideas, his own philosophies, and he's pushing his agenda down on us. So we decided to assemble a team, and actually the team ended up being close to probably 200 individuals. Some of the individuals on our team that I'll show on this slide, you may know many of them. We decided to pull in business owners, religious leaders, parents from every level of the school district, civic leaders. And then we had probably 120 staff members that were involved. So here's another group of community members, and I'm sure I've missed some of the individuals involved, but I just wanted to give you kind of a picture of this plan that we've created, the strategic plan that is really the first attempt at the district at really stretching the organization through developing a community-based driven plan. And so we really try to be comprehensive and include as many voices in the process as possible. I was part of the committee, but I was just one voice. And in the end, what I think there are two big pieces that create a significant power with the strategic plan. One is that the Board of Education, who you elect, who represent your community, they had their hands tied into this plan from the very beginning. We had representatives from the board on the strategic planning committee. Every phase of the plan, every component was presented to the Board of Education and then ultimately approved by the board. So I think that is one thing that I think as a taxpayer, I want to know, how is this thing going to be sustainable? Or is this something that's going to really drive the district? Or is this just some kind of dog and pony show that really won't impact school district and really impact my child? The second critical piece that I think happened, that we were intentional designing, is that we created, my evaluation as a superintendent of the Reed Springs School District is directly tied to the implementation of the strategic plan. There's accountability there to our taxpayers. There's accountability to the Board of Education. I felt like this was an essential piece because I'm obviously not going to be here forever, but we want this kind of systematic progress and growth to be sustainable for years and future generations. So regardless of who sits in my chair or Dr. Kite's chair or any administrator or any teacher, the plan is going to move forward and move forward the education of our children. So obviously I'm here to talk about strategy number 7 in our strategic plan. Once the plan got put together, the strategic planning team, that community-based team and the Board of Education started having conversations. Well, we know this is how we need to stretch our organization. We know that there are gaps in terms of the services that we provide and the opportunities that are there. How do we fund that? And so one of the action steps that developed immediately was we needed to pose a levy increase to be able to support this important work. So on April 6th, we are having an election on the ballot, Prop RS. So for us, Prop RS obviously represents everything about Reed Spring, but specifically, the R kind of represents recruiting and retaining the best world-class employees to work with our children, to work with Carter, to work with Shelby, to work with Cassidy, sit down with children like that can get knee to knee with them and really help them progress academically. The other piece, the S, obviously represents all the components of the strategic plan. So we'll walk through some of those. So strategy 1 of the strategic plan addresses early childhood education. So I want you to think about children like Carter. I also want you to think about children, in our community, we have about 64% of our community is on free and reduced lunch. That means we do have a really high population of students who are coming from homes of poverty. And so we feel like they deserve just as good a learning experience as every other child. Now I look at Carter, and my wife will attest to this, and we cannot go to bed without reading a book to Carter every night. We read 2 books every night. If we skip a single word, he knows it because Carter's got his little books memorized. Carter's going to be fine academically. My wife works with him at home. He may not participate in early childhood education, but then think about all the other children whose first exposure to any kind of reading, any kind of social environment is that first day of kindergarten. We have tracked data over time, and this data can be replicated anywhere in the country. We've seen it everywhere, that children who are exposed to early childhood education, and I'm not talking about just daycare, I'm talking about really helping our children grow and learn and be exposed to social activities and engagement, that they are significantly above their peers that do not participate in early education. It's not even close. And so the gap begins with so many of our children that they enter kindergarten, and they're already so far behind. And you may have experienced that with grandchildren, or, seen that in first or second grade as they start to go, that the gap begins to widen. And so we know that this is an important initiative. So the strategic plan team immediately identified that we are underservicing our community in this area. So we have an early childhood center. We have limited capacity. We're out of space. We don't have staffing to cover the classroom. We know that the children are out there. We have waiting lists. We can't at this point, we have not just strategically made that an initiative, a priority. The other thing we are really excited about is expanding our Parents as Teachers program. We have one Parents as Teacher educator who's phenomenal, who's getting into homes and trying to partner with families to help families know how to work with their children and to identify different areas of growth that are needed. And while she's amazing, we're underservicing our entire county with only one educator. And compare us to even a school district that's a little smaller than us, like Hollister, who has, I believe, close to three. I think they have three early childhood parents as teachers. So we're really excited about expanding this. We know infant care is also a concern in our community, and so that's an area of the strategic plan that's being explored also, is providing infant care. I know many of our business owners that were on the strategic plan team expressed their challenge of trying to bring any kind of families into our community because there's just no childcare opportunities. So we're really looking at how can we take care of both those needs of providing a high quality early childhood experience and provide support for employees in our community. So the next plan is focused on academic excellence. This is one we're extremely passionate about. This is the one when our teachers are sitting down with Carter or Shelby or Cassidy and they're working with them. What are they doing? What's that quality instruction look like? Are we using best practices? Are we collaborating? Are we really working together as a team and being intentional about designing instructional activities that can really enhance the quality of learning of our students? So this is something we talk about every day, and we're excited about this strategy. And so we need some support financially to be able to address some of those things that we know that are research-based, that are high quality, that we're not doing completely, that we feel like will enhance the quality of our experiences. So we're really looking forward to that. Our third strategy is student well-being. So I think now, I've been in education for quite some time. I think now more than ever, the social and emotional well-being of our students is at an all-time high. We have students in our community whose primary meal is here at school, who we clothe, we feed, we love, we educate. We have students who are dealing with, difficult home environments, oftentimes very tragic and challenging. And so how do we better meet their needs? And some of these students are coming to our classrooms with so much trauma and so much challenge. You have kids that are even just Carter's age or a little older that are struggling, and they're having so much trauma in the classroom, and then that trauma is also impacting other kids in the classroom, and maybe some of those children are experiencing secondary trauma. And so this is a real, and I think in some sense, COVID has increased some of those concerns that we have in terms of our social well-being of our staff or our students. And so we're looking at, in this strategy, how can we provide an experience kindergarten through 12th grade, really all the way up, early childhood through 12th grade. How can we provide some alternative experiences that we can be very intentional with these children that are experiencing trauma and give them the supports they're needing, while maybe being in a kind of a different environment while other children are on task and are able to also learn and progress. So we're working through the strategies over the next 5 years to address that. The other thing is looking at preschool all the way through 12th grade. Do we have the right structure and format to be able to really help our students learn how to be resilient, to be hard workers, those soft skills that they're going to need as they leave Reed Spring to go to get a job? And how do we help them with those behavior management pieces? So we're really excited for this, and you can kind of see some of the dollars that we are going to need to be able to address this plan. The fourth plan is all about recruiting and retaining high quality employees. Outside, my feeling is that outside of faith and family, there's no other support more important for the education of a child than our teaching staff. They're the ones that are working in the grind, in the classrooms with our children. And so if you can kind of see the data here, Missouri teachers are some of the lowest paid in the entire country. We rank 43rd in overall salaries in the entire country. when we started looking at this strategy, how do we, if we're saying our mission is to be world-class, how do we bring in those world-class employees? We started looking at, well, who's our competition? Who are we competing against? And how do we get our name out there? So reality, when we started looking at that, our competition is Nixa, Branson, Republic, Ozark, and Willard. Those are our primary competition in terms of keeping employees or recruiting employees. It's not a lot of the smaller school districts around us. It's really those benchmarks. So we've been evaluating our compensation packages for our staff in comparison to those districts, and the gap is significant. So this strategy will address that. Just so you know, a couple of big points that I think are important for our community to understand, because I think when you start to talk dollars, and we're on a much smaller dollar amount incomes in our homes, and we operate with a fewer digits in our salaries or in our budgets. Our school district budget is $26 million. And if you think about that, that seems like a lot of money, and it is. But if you think about, we educate 1,800 kids a year. We are the largest employer outside of year-round employer. I'll say that we're the largest year-round employer. I think Silver City has quite a few employees. I don't even know the number, but I know year-round we are, and we have the greatest influence on this entire community than any organization. We touch every life, every heart, every child. We touch, children like Shelby and Cassidy and Carter, and families and grandparents and property values, and all those things are impacted by the school. The other thing to know is that 70 cents on every dollar is dedicated to salaries. And that's not unusual. Most business owners know that it just costs to not only pay them a base pay, but also to insure them and workers' comp and unemployment, all those other costs associated with that. So this strategy, we're looking at revamping the teacher's salary schedule, the classified salary schedule, making sure that they're competitive. We are looking at, one of the things we're really excited is that we're partnering with Evangel University. And, we feel like, with strategy 2 kind of connecting to this, we need to create that high quality learning experience for every child. We felt like we needed to provide a learning experience for our staff members here on campus, where we could really craft some of those world-class learning experiences for them to help them refine their craft. And so Evangel's been able to allow us and partner with them to create a master's program here on campus. We're going to have at least 16 students here on campus that we're going to be able to start to train on high quality learning practices. And I got my book in the mail today for our first course, and next semester we're going to get that information out to our staff. And so this will be a great opportunity to start really training our staff on those high quality learning and practices. The 5th strategy is all about community awareness and engagement. How do we ensure that our community is connected to the school district, that we have a partnership with you? How do we ensure that when we go to a regional or a state meeting, that people know who we are, that they know that we have something amazing going on here? One, that will help us recruit new families to the district so that we can have more employees. It'll help our economy. I remember one of the first meetings I attended at Reed Spring as a superintendent, community meeting, was an economic summit meeting over at New Testament Church, and hearing from our business owners about how do we partner and create apprenticeships and internship experiences? How do we partner and create these opportunities within our local community? So there's so many opportunities here that we feel like this strategy will address, and also help people understand as we recruit. When they hear about the Wolves, they know that we're something amazing. They want to come here. If you think about locally or regionally, some of the school districts that have a significant influence across the state or have a great identity, we have one north to us. Nixa School District is probably one of the top rated academic school districts in the state and has done really well. Well, why is that? They've been very strategic in their model. So we want people to, anywhere they go, they know who we are and what we're all about, which will benefit all 3 of those kids and many more. So our 6th strategy is about college and career readiness. Again, kind of spoke to this briefly, but we want to partner with we have so many phenomenal resources within our chamber, our business community, and our patrons, where we can create internship or apprenticeship experiences for our students so that when they leave high school, maybe they're going off and going to trade school, or maybe they're going to college, or maybe they're going directly into the workforce here in our community and creating those partnerships. When I began having this conversation in one of my meetings just recently, I had a patron come up to me who worked at a bank and said, Cody, as soon as you're ready to roll this, we have an apprenticeship experience, an internship experience. We'd love to have a kid or junior and senior year, get them trained so that they can stay with us and have that experience. And so we are excited about that. The other thing that we want everybody should know this. We have one of the greatest resources in our region, and that's in Gibson Technical Center, our Career Center. The work that's done there by our Career Center staff is phenomenal. Even greater than that is the work that's done there by our students. They're learning how to be EMTs, learning how to do early childhood education, how to do automotive, welding, boat repairs, all a variety of learning experiences will prepare them directly for the workforce. Some people don't know this, but that center does educate our Reed Springs students, but it also educates our area students. We have students from Branson's and Forsyth and Hollister and Blue Eye, school districts in Galena that are, and others that are sending their kids to be educated in that center. So one, we have to keep that center competitive. We have to keep that engaged. So the schools want to send them to our building. That facility is the oldest building in the district. While on the outside, it doesn't look good, in the inside, the quality is amazing. But there are some programs that we need to enhance and expand to be able to really meet the needs that are coming with our kids. And so we're excited about the strategy and the impact and influence it'll have on kids like Shelby, who's graduating, thinking about her plan. Where am I going to go? What does her plan look like? And so part of this is looking at college plans or career plans as they enter freshman. Really, we're looking at curriculum all the way through, but as they especially enter into their freshman year, that they're starting to talk with a career counselor who we have on staff now, starting to talk about what options you want to have as you get ready to go into your high school experience. So a lot of numbers there, a lot of dollars. We estimate that the funding to fund the strategic plan will be anywhere from $2.1 to $2.7 million. There's a range there because strategies will develop and evolve as we go. We're not sure about 100% of how all those will play out. So we've done our estimate there. Just so you know, every district is unique on how they receive money. So some districts will receive more money locally based off of local taxes than others. Some districts will be heavily funded by the state or federal government. That is a lot of that's dependent on your assessed valuation. And so our school district, we are more so than even a lot of the districts around us, we are highly dependent. Almost 75% of our entire budget is dependent on our tax base, our local taxes. And so that is really important information, I think, for people to understand. So we do receive some state funding, although that has declined significantly over the years. And we'll show a little bit of that here in a second. Just important to know that. So the reality is, I feel like over the years, the district has done some really good things here at Reed Spring, and they've tried to be fiscally responsible, but the reality is our funds continue to decrease. We continue to lose money because we don't have as much revenue coming in. One of the things that also has happened, we've lost enrollment. And so while we've lost enrollment, the district has in the years past done a nice job of eliminating positions to absorb some of those class sizes and adjust some of those positions so we can adjust with that. But we've lost about over $1 million in state funding due to the decrease in enrollment. Now we anticipate, one of the questions I received the other day in one of these meetings is that what do we anticipate for enrollment? What do we see happening down the road? We did a study a few years ago, prior to my arrival. They did a enrollment study, and it projected that we would flatline, we would have a big drop and then we'd flatline. We've kind of seen that flatline. I anticipate seeing an increase in enrollment. I would like to say that the increase in enrollment would be significant, but we don't have some of those infrastructure to provide housing for people in our community. But we kind of see that enrollment being pretty stable. The other thing to note that is in 2017-18, funds were at a low. We are really concerned. So the board and the administrative staff had to make a decision to take out a loan from the bank to be able to make payroll. So you think about in December, people at central office and the board getting to a point where they're like, we're not sure we're going to be able to actually make payroll to pay our employees at Christmas time. So that's a really significant concern because funds were low. And reserves were low. The second thing the second year, the year after that, you can see we ended the year with $20,000. So those were some concerns, financial concerns that were there. So this slide, I'm not going to spend too much time on this, talks about some of the reduction of staff that's actually been updated. There's been a little bit more there that we did. But the other piece that we've done to be intentional and be good stewards is we've shifted from, as you know, we've been a one-on-one device for many years. We have now shifted from a very expensive device that costs anywhere from $1,100 to $1,300 that we leased out to now we're transitioning to Chromebook devices. So each device will now cost only about $250. And so we are trying to be good stewards of our dollars. We've done, since I've arrived, the first thing I did is really cut budgets down, and administrators and our teaching staff know that, because we have been afraid that we were going to have to take out more loans to make payroll. So we've really been trying to intentionally designing a good budget for our district and being good stewards of our money. This chart, I think, is one of the charts that has the most power. When you see our levy, this middle column, you have obviously area school districts on the left. The middle column is our levy dollar amount. Reed Spring School District has the lowest levy in the area. So, Blue Eye, Hurley, Nixa, you can read through those, Taneyville, Galena, kind of where they're at. I will say, if you can, another way a patron actually shared this with us, another way to look at this is that, patrons that live across that Kimberling City Bridge or up the road, those patrons in those districts are paying quite a bit more for their children's education and the education of the children in their school district than we are. And so what does that look like? We'll talk about kind of where the levy is going to land us and where we need to be. The column on the right shows the amount of dollars. The columns on the right shows the amount of dollars that are generated if we were to have the same amount of levy as Billings, 3.2, we would generate about $873,000 just by having Billings, and then you can see that all the way up to Blue Eye with over $4. And I will say this also, Reed Spring is one of the lowest levies in the entire state. I know where our family moved from, we were over 4.5 or something for our total levy. This chart here shows that same information just in a graph form. The solid thick blue line is our history of levy. We have obviously haven't come to the voters to be able to ask for a levy increase. And you can see everyone in our area has over time come to our patrons and asked for some increase. So in addition to this is we have, obviously the story continues. We have to operate a school district. So that means we need buses, roofing repairs, HVAC units, parking lots, all those maintenance things. Right now, our fund balances, so I'm not going to get too much into school finance, but we have funds that are by law dedicated to do certain things, and you can only use money in those accounts for certain things. In our our capital improvement fund account, we have $197,000 left. By the end of the year, just based off a projected budget, we are going to be in the negatives. That is just maintaining some of the status quo. That number is actually probably down even further now this week. Those buses there, our average lifespan, if you know Steve Verheyen, he'll definitely confirm this one. Our average lifespan is around 18 to 22 years, 20 years. So we know that those buses are going to be replaced. So those other items are replaced. We still have those costs. So we're going to have to move some money out of a different account that's meant for the academic stuff over into this account just to be able to keep the district operating. Additionally, COVID has added a new cost, which is our virtual learning experience. It's a whole new environment that does cost more to educate children in that environment. So we're proposing a 55-cent levy. This will place us, we felt like we weren't trying to be competitive. Like that wasn't the motivator. It wasn't, we needed to be, if that was a motivator, we would definitely be above Branson. that would put us above that. If you look at that dollar amount, we estimate it'll bring us about $2.2 million. If you go back and remember that slide that I showed you, that our budget estimate is anywhere from 2.1 to 2.7 to fund the strategic plan. So then you might wonder, why didn't you go for Nix's amount? And the reason for that is I feel like, as a patron and a taxpayer, the district is responsible to be good stewards with their budget. And so I feel like we have designed a budget with some of the technology adjustments with devices and some of the other things that we're doing, that with the levy increase, with our assessed valuation, with the good right size of the budget and being really fiscally responsible, that this is a levy that we can propose and feel good about for years to come. That we're not going to feel like we're going to have to come back to you in 5 years and ask for an additional levy increase. We really feel like this is going to take care of our needs financially. So if you kind of think about that, we have one of the things that we have, and I'll show you the website. We have a website with a lot of information about the Prop RS. Ben Fisher has done a remarkable job getting information posted on that. We appreciate him and his work. There's an FAQ that will show what this increase will cost to you as a patron. So you can go and look, and it'll show you if your home costs this much. So if you kind of just think about, if your home is valued at 100,000. You know, if your home's 100,000, if you have a $100,000 home, you're going to be paying about $8 to $10 a month extra in taxes. So the way I've looked at it is, you know, that's okay. I'm just not going to go buy a hamburger one time that month, and I'm going to impact the entire school district, all these children, the Shelbys, the Carters, the Cassidy Quicks, all those children, just by maybe us not going out to eat. Now, if I don't take my whole family out to eat, that might take care of a lot of things because we have a whole herd and they eat a lot. So, I'm going to show you our website so you can have that information. Voter registration ends on March 10th. That deadline's coming fast. Hopefully everybody with the November elections already registered to vote. So the website is PropRS. So take you that. If you just go to our webpage, if you just go into Google and type Reed Springs School District, and you'll see this bar at the top, and just go to PropRS and go down here, and you'll see, you know, there's some intro here, but if you go to our frequently asked questions, it'll show you, the values, the cost. There's a bunch of, we try to anticipate all those different questions that our patrons might have. So we just encourage you to go to that website if you haven't already done so. All right, that is my overall presentation. And so now I know there may be questions, no questions, which is fun. I will just say that we are passionate about, I guess I'll say this, my wife, Amy, and I, we've lived in a variety of areas, you know, just from my teaching career, going to a building level principal, to a larger building level principal, to a small school district superintendent, to another, you know, to try to find a place where we could live and call home. We've made a lot of change. I will tell you, we have never lived in a community like this. And we've been in some neat places with some neat people. Our community is phenomenal. We feel like we rally around kids. We feel like there's also that really high level need for our students and our children who are coming from so many broken homes and, you know, just struggle. I don't even want to, I think that's labeling. I don't want to say there's homes where kids are struggling. I feel like our plan is designed to improve our children's life. Not just the Carter, the Shelby, or the Cassidy, but every child, whether you're in special education or you're a high excelling, achieving school, whether you're poverty or you're rich. Our plan is to help prepare the best kids to return to our community, or if not, go change the world. And so we encourage you to be engaged. Our office here, we are open for any questions. You may not have questions tonight, but if you do have questions in this process, please reach out and ask. Obviously, I'm here just to inform and to be transparent. That's what I've been charged to do, is be transparent in the process. And so we will do the best we can to answer any questions that you may have. Okay, I'm just gonna double check. No more questions? Okay, no questions. You're an easy audience. Hopefully that means we have some people watching, do we? Okay, we have some people watching, and this will be recorded. I know Ben Fisher will be pushing this on Facebook, and you're welcome to share this video with your other organizations, families, friends. We want people to really get out, and especially get out and vote April 6th. Thanks, everyone. Have a great night.